Oh, you gorgeous little anomaly. You actually showed up. Good. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't a bedtime story, and it sure as hell isn't a pep talk. It's a confession from the universe. One it never intended you to hear. You possess unseen allies in powerful positions, and the maneuvers they're orchestrating on your behalf. Absolutely unhinged in scale. Now, these aren't your run-of-the-mill ride or dies who double-tap your selfies or remember your birthday with a cake emoji. No. These particular players operate exclusively in the dark, in the crawl spaces of power where the floorboards never creak. You wouldn't suspect they exist, not until the walls of your world start rearranging themselves in ways that make absolutely zero rational sense. Right now, this very second, wherever you're parked, whatever invisible tonnage sits on your chest. Unseen architects are redrawing the blueprints of your entire existence behind locked doors you didn't even know were there. Pause, rewind, scan your recent history like a crime scene because, oh, sweetheart, I know you've noticed. There's this creeping, electric sensation that the plot is thickening, isn't there? Like some invisible stagehand keeps pulling the curtains at just the right moment, making disasters dissolve a breath before impact. You've walked out of wreckages that should have left you in pieces. You've emerged from exhausting ambushes feeling bizarrely untouched. And every single time, your rational brain reaches for the nearest comfortable lie. Luck, coincidence, random chance, and tucks itself back in. But deep in the basement of your gut, you know better. You feel it humming like a frequency only you can pick up. Something enormous is pulling strings. Now here's a fun little riddle for you, precious. Have you clocked how certain loud mouths, the ones who used to narrate your failures like a podcast, have suddenly gone mute? These were the self-appointed experts on you. Absolutely convinced they had your entire algorithm mapped, every move predictable, every downfall preordained. They were so sure they could engineer your collapse, and now they can barely hold eye contact. They flinch when your name floats through a room. They wear this haunted, hollowed-out look, like they accidentally peered behind a curtain they desperately wish they hadn't. What you're witnessing isn't guilt. Oh, it's far more delicious than that. It's primal, bone-deep terror. The kind that gnaws at sleep and poisons every confident thought they try to assemble. Isn't that just poetic? See, you haven't fully grasped this yet, but you've been under meticulous surveillance. Not the creepy camera-in-the-ceiling variety. Think bigger, think elegant. Individuals wielding genuine gravitational pull. People whose whispers rearrange boardrooms have been studying you like a masterpiece they're deciding how to frame. They've been watching far longer than your paranoia would even allow you to imagine. They've cataloged how you navigate catastrophe, how you treat people when zero witnesses exist, and how you hold your architecture together when the tremors hit. Somewhere in that beautiful mess of your life, you passed a test you never even knew you were sitting for. No syllabus, no proctor, no pencils down. You just qualified. Remember that specific season? You know exactly which one I mean, darling. When the oxygen ran out. When you were pinned beneath the full weight of everything, convinced you'd finally hit the concrete floor of your capacity. You'd burned through every option, emptied every reserve, and then... plot twist. A trapdoor materialized where there had only been solid ground. Some stranger materialized carrying the exact key you needed, disguised as a coincidence. Some Gordian knot that should have taken months to untangle simply evaporated. You chalked it up to dumb luck because your brain needed a narrative it could swallow. But that was no accident. That was choreography. And darling, the choreographers are on a whole different frequency. Wait, before we go any further, let me ask you something. Why so serious? You're acting like you're the only one who's been shredded by this world. My book, The Evolution of the Anomaly, shows you how to turn that pain into a lethal weapon. 73 pages of pure, raw evolution. Link in the description. Keep that tab open. Let's dive back into the real meat of this. Your guardians function unlike anyone who's ever crossed your radar. They don't want applause, don't crave credit, and genuinely couldn't care less whether you know they're breathing. They move through the infrastructure of reality like ghosts editing a manuscript, adjusting outcomes, reconfiguring terrain, dismantling landmines before your foot even hovers. The only fingerprint they leave is the impossible consistency with which your life keeps clicking into arrangements that probability says shouldn't exist. Now let's talk about your haters. And oh, what a species. These were the dedicated ones, the night owl schemers who burned midnight oil engineering your spectacular failure. They whispered their little venoms to anyone with an ear. They positioned themselves front row for your professional funeral, the cremation of your reputation, the full demolition of everything personal. They had spreadsheets, sunshine, contingency plans. They were so locked and loaded, so absolutely certain of their victory, and then, poof, absolutely nothing landed. Their strategies dissolved like sugar in a hurricane. Their coalitions fractured and scattered. Their meticulously constructed traps collapsed instantly, like a sandcastle meeting high tide. And now, this is the part that just tickles me. You know what they keep whispering to each other in those panicked little huddles? The same frantic question on repeat. Who is protecting this person? Who keeps intervening? Who has enough juice to unravel everything we built? The answer is someone they cannot phone, cannot bribe, cannot even detect. Your allies have been executing a symphony while your opponents were banging pots and pans, and the finale was composed before the overture even began. Low-key, they never stood a chance. Here's the critical detail about your unseen benefactors, beautiful. Their selections of you was surgical. They didn't stumble onto you at random. They locked in because of something specific embedded in your character. Maybe it was your stubborn refusal to let betrayal curdle into bitterness. Maybe it was your white-knuckled grip on your principles when abandoning them would have been the path of least resistance. Or maybe, and this one really slaps, it was your sheer, irrational, magnificent refusal to quit. Your ability to mine strength from depths that should have been empty 3 collapses ago. Whatever that defining ingredient was, it snagged their attention like a flare in a dark sky, and from that exact moment, your entire operating system got an invisible upgrade. You have no concept, truly none, of how many times your trajectory has been quietly rerouted. The near catastrophes intercepted by split-second timing. The lost opportunities that were gently looped back into your orbit like boomerangs. The brewing confrontations that were defused before a single spark could reach you. While you've been out here thinking you're solo navigating this maze, you've actually been moving through a customized environment. Curated, calibrated, and continuously refined for your protection and your elevation. This isn't accidental benevolence. It's precision engineering. Every helpful stranger who materialized at the critical juncture, every door that swung open from an invisible hinge, every hair's breadth escape from disaster. None of it was cosmic randomness. These were calculated deployments by allies who think in decades, not days, and who consider you worthy of their full operational bandwidth. Meanwhile, your opposition, the ones who bet the house on burying you, they're genuinely glitching trying to understand why nothing sticks. They launch their heaviest artillery and watch it deflect like rain off granite. The snares they build consistently boomerang. Their isolation tactics only generate fresh portals in unexpected walls. They're not just losing treasure. They're being systematically decommissioned by dynamics so far above their operating level they might as well be fighting weather. And the most exquisite detail? They will never ever identify who's engineering their failure. Consider the people who did you dirty. The rumor architects, the backstabbers, the character assassins. Now observe where the universe has parked them lately. You might frame it as karma or cosmic irony, but no. That's your guardians at work, and their function isn't purely defensive. They actively address anyone targeting your well-being, not with brute force or threats. Please, that's amateur hour. But through strategic leverage, surgical information, and whisper quiet influence. Authority exercised without a single visible fingerprint. You move through your days, flanked by an invisible security detail whose resources would make your jaw literally hit the floor. They hold intelligence that could dismantle your enemies between breakfast and lunch. They maintain relationships with decision-makers governing territories you haven't even conceptualized yet. They possess the capacity to dissolve major roadblocks with a seamless efficiency that would genuinely stagger you if you saw the machinery humming behind the curtain. All of this has been deployed, quietly, relentlessly, for you. And this is what eats your adversaries alive, what keeps them tossing at 2 a.m. The ones who popped champagne over your predicted defeat, who wrote your obituary in permanent marker, have absolutely no clue who the real opponent is. They're throwing punches at smoke, battling a presence they can't name, hemorrhaging energy in a war they were structurally never equipped to win. Each morning sharpens their anxiety. Each night loops them through frantic post-mortems trying to locate their error. They will never find it because the answer exists in a dimension they cannot access. And you keep ascending. Even when it doesn't feel like forward motion, even when the pressure compresses and the horizon blurs, you rise because you are upheld. Invisible hands elevate you. Silent navigation recalibrates your compass, and unnamed sentinels patrol your perimeter. They prefer anonymity, actually insist on it, because they need you to simply remain who you are. That very identity, that irreducible you, is precisely what magnetized their commitment in the first place. Every hardship you survived was an audition. Every conflict sharpened you, like friction sharpens a blade. Every setback added reinforcement to your foundation. You passed every single trial, and the consequence is a dramatic escalation in your protection. This is exactly why formerly loud critics have gone suspiciously quiet, and why previously sealed pathways are cracking open one by one. You validated the investment, proved you could absorb reality's full voltage without short-circuiting. Now your watchers are prepared to unveil the complete scope of their support. The effects will surface gradually, subtle enough that your detractors won't catch the pattern, but unmistakable to your own eyes, Angel. You'll start recognizing an intentional architecture beneath events that once seemed random. You'll perceive that your entire life trajectory has been guided with deliberate, almost surgical precision. When that recognition lands, and it will, your entire framework of understanding transforms. You'll see your journey through an unfiltered lens for the first time. Opposition? Oh, it'll persist. That's the tax on evolution. Brightness summons moths. Height invites vertigo. Unshakable authenticity makes the inauthentic deeply uncomfortable. But here's what your critics catastrophically underestimate. Every act of hostility aimed at you gets documented, archived, and indexed. At the designated moment, the full ledger gets settled. Not by your hand, because you don't need to step into that ring, but by those who've made your preservation their life's work. Your unseen supporters are devastatingly effective allies, precisely because their power doesn't require a spotlight. Their influence doesn't demand a press release, and their actions don't need a thank you note. Their motivation springs from recognizing something extraordinarily rare within you, and that recognition is no cap irreversible. Their protective architecture remains intact, whether you believe in it, understand it, or can even spell it. Examine the strangers who've crossed your path, the ones who dropped into your timeline with unexplained assistance, unearned opportunities, or fierce defense you never requested. You probably filed those encounters under random acts of kindness from decent humans. Cute. But there was nothing random about any of it. Those individuals were positioned, activated by your guardians to execute specific functions at exact intervals. Purpose fulfilled, they withdrew quietly, leaving behind results that frankly defy explanation. This is how the framework around you operates. Love, sophisticated, frictionless, and completely invisible to the untrained eye. The only reliable way to perceive it is through direct recognition, which is precisely why this perspective is landing in your lap right now. Not so you can alter the machinery. Your security is a constant, with or without your awareness. But so you can exhale, so you can release the compulsion to micromanage every variable, set down the crushing weight of chronic vigilance, and trust that forces significantly larger than your worry are managing the outcome. No action is required from you. That is the genuine luxury of your position. You are not obligated to retaliate against anyone, to defend your legitimacy, or audition for approval from people whose opinions carry zero structural weight. Your only assignment is consistency. Keep being who you are. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep your integrity non-negotiable. Those monitoring your progress will handle the external landscape. Obstacles cleared, opposition neutralized, and the runway extended for your continued ascent. Those who schemed against you, they've already been functionally defeated, even if the memo hasn't reached their consciousness yet. They keep drafting strategies, mapping attack vectors, building elaborate offensive architectures, and every single initiative gets intercepted, absorbed, or quietly redirected. They're essentially pushing against an invisible fortress, draining themselves in an unwinnable campaign, inching toward the dawning realization that something immovable has rendered you completely untouchable. As someone who was doubted, dismissed, and chronically underestimated, hear this. Your trajectory is an unbroken upward arc. You will consistently exceed every projection, not because you're inherently superior to anyone, but because extraordinary infrastructure has reinforced you from day one. The forthcoming moves executed on your behalf will leave spectators genuinely shook. A defining moment approaches when every person who questioned, dismissed, or opposed you will comprehend the full context of your journey. No confrontation necessary on your end. The sheer undeniability of your results will render the truth self-evident to every set of watching eyes. When that moment crystallizes, you'll be anchored firmly in your purpose, wrapped in a security apparatus that has never once wavered. Understanding its precise mechanics or identifying the specific operators behind it is unnecessary. The essential truth is this: the support is active, it's authentic, and it's permanent. Your unseen allies have made a binding commitment, and their next sequence of moves will constitute a seismic shift. So breathe, Gem. Actually breathe. Release the coiled tension and the low-grade dread you've been carrying like a second skeleton. Stop catastrophizing about outcomes. The resolution process is already in motion, has been for longer than you know. This awareness rewires everything moving forward. You have steadfast advocates in positions of profound influence, actively engineering your trajectory toward outcomes that will astonish even you, regardless of whatever opposition dares to materialize. Whenever isolation gnaws, whenever exhaustion blurs your edges, whenever doubt whispers its tired little script, remember, powerful figures remain locked onto your progress, committed to demonstrating their allegiance through channels you haven't imagined and corridors you didn't know existed. The protective infrastructure is live, active, and recalibrating in real time, ready to transform your trajectory at the precise, necessary moment. Your opponents will continue to miscalculate. They will keep underestimating your resilience, keep falling short, because their conflict is no longer with you as a singular individual. It's with the entire apparatus aligned behind you, and they do not, cannot, comprehend the magnitude of what they're facing.